we just saw a couple really good days of football, and let's start with the Vikings and Saints here,
Right.
because I think a lot of people thought that the Saints playing at home.
Shocker of the day. Shocker for me. Not
Yeah.
to say I'm always right. I'm right a lot, but I know I'm wrong, and when I am wrong, I call it.
There were times this year the Saints lost at home, though, which is a little uncharacteristic for them. 49ers, Falcons, too.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
And actually, it was interesting because Danielle Hunter,
yes,
who had a very big game for the Vikings on defense, and that's what I want to get into and ask you is how they slowed down Drew Brees and the Saints offense.
Right.
But he said that they went back and they did watch tape of Week 10 of when the Falcons played them.
I bet.
And that said they decided that they would attack the interior of the offensive line because of the strength of both of the Saints' tackles.
Yeah.
So
they did that a lot in this game, where they put Evers and Griffin and Danielle. I gotta get better with it. Danielle.
Yeah.
They put them at defensive tackle. I mean, and I understand that. Andrew Pete's just getting back healthy, so he's not hitting on all cylinders. You know, they have good tackle play in New Orleans. They were both phenomenal from the first series of the game. So I think that's the first where we start. If you want to know why the Saints offense stalled a little bit, well, one of the major things I would tell you, other than a few five-man pressures here and there, the Minnesota Vikings were able to get home with the front four a lot of the times. And they won the battle up front, which is the first area I did not expect them to win. I mean, the New Orleans Saints there's no doubt they're one of the 5 best offensive lines in football. You wouldn't talk to anybody who studies the sport who wouldn't tell you that. So, one, I was shocked by their ability to slow down the run game. 2, their ability to get around Drew Brees and either get hands up or hit him just as he's going to make a throw. The defensive line, there's probably 2 or 3 plays, Ahmed, where I go, ooh, Brees is going to have somebody downfield. He's got him. Oh, he's got sacked as soon as the guy came open. Or, the guy got hands up in front of his face as he's kind of getting ready to throw. So, again, these are things that are not going to stand up on the stat sheet, but they were disruptive.
There is a stat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, some of the hands up in the face, but with the sacks that they were able to get on Drew Brees, so there were 20 sacks this wild card weekend. The Vikings had 4 of the top 7 quickest, so they got to the quarterback quicker than anyone. Two of them from Danielle Hunter.
Right, where he just made phenomenal moves on guys.
And 2 from Everson Griffin as well. So they were both able to do it, and like you said, able to do it without much help. Without
much help. Yeah, and that's key. Anytime you play a really good offense or a good quarterback, just like when we talked about Tom Brady and the Super Bowl losses, what were they? Oh, it was always a front 4 who could get after the quarterback, and then they could drop 7 in coverage. Same thing with Sean Payton and company. I mean, hey, three areas jump out to me just as far as this game being lost. You get a short field turnover to start the game, you settle for a field goal. That's huge. Up 10-6 before the half, Drew Brees underthrows a post route to Teddy Ginn by 10 to 15 yards. It gets intercepted. The guy gets up, returns it. They score a touchdown later on that drive to go up 13-10. Then the Saints go down to try to kick the game-tying field goal before halftime to make it 13-all. Miss that. That, to me, was the huge part of the football game, with then the third biggest part being a 2017 Hunter. I'm just going to say it. Danielle Hunter makes an unbelievable move on Ryan Ramczyk and makes Drew Brees fumble, which I would also like everybody to know there was an issue there. So just to dive into that play, too, on the fumble play by Drew Brees, Michael Thomas did not do what Drew Brees told him to do. There was a hand signal. It was 2 fists. He made a fist to this side and a fist to this side. After he gets sacked and gets up, he looks at Michael Thomas and yells at him, like, what are you doing? Or I gave you this signal. What are you doing? And then he gets up and continues to stare him down. Pretty sure Michael Thomas was supposed to run 8 or 9 yards and just turn around, and Drew was going to try to throw him a big body ball on the outside. But Michael Thomas didn't do it, or didn't do it the right way, or maybe they switched up the signal for the playoff game. He ended up going straight. It made Drew hold the ball an extra second, and then he got hit from behind by Danielle Hunter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Another one of those things that doesn't show up in the box.
Does not show up in the. But I think the big thing for me here, without getting too crazy into this, okay, just with the theme of how did Minnesota stop the great offense of the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees and Sean Payton? There was 2 things. First thing is, do I think Sean Payton was a little impatient with the run game? Yes. Do I think Sean Payton should have ran Taysom Hill more because that package was very effective? Yes. So they didn't do that, either one of those enough. But the biggest thing to me would be these 3 things in the pass game, Ahmed, would be no screens. They didn't let it. The screen game never got off. I mean, the Saints, other than the Patriots, are the kings of you over with screen passes every game. Oh, gosh, it's play action pass. Let's get deep. It's Jared Cook and Michael Thomas going deep. What? He threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage to Alvin Kamara? What? He's running down the field with no one, with blockers in front of him? Oh, gosh, let me chase him. So none of that happened. Play action passes. Very little success there. Sure. They were really smart and really stopped those planned shot plays by them. And then the other thing is the looky routes or the option routes. And I think this is where we should stand up for a second.
Oh, we're standing up. Okay, good.
So
I knew this would happen.
Yep. So if you're the DB, like there's a route in the New Orleans scheme for the slot receiver or even the back coming out of the backfield sometimes. They call it a lookie or they might call it a halfback option. And the lookie route is I can go wherever I want. So right now, because I know everybody can see this, Ahmed's head up on me. If I have the inside, you want to go inside. So, like, a lot of the times, Michael Thomas might do this and go out here, and then, bam, he does this, and Drew Brees hits him over the middle, and all of a sudden, Michael Thomas catches the ball at 5 yards and ends up being a 12-yard gain.
Got it.
The Vikings basically said, screw you. We're going to make your option the way we want to make the option. And they exactly right. Moved him in there. They almost played like this, right? They were like, go ahead, try to go inside. You're going to run into us, and you're going to have to tackle us to go. And that's what they did. So then within that, expecting it, they're also ready to break out when I break out. So now you're like there. So even if I catch it, they were getting tackled for like 4- and 5-yard gains.
Got it.
They took away the middle of the field for Jared Cook, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara. I think that was the biggest thing I took away more than anything of the game. Some of the bread and butter design plays that Sean Payton comes up with on a weekly basis, they were not there. And there, you take away the middle of the field, and then what did that do? It made Drew Brees have to throw the ball down the field, outside the numbers. Those are not his strengths at, a few weeks away from being 41 years old.
Taysom Hill's strengths, though.
Well, yeah, you see.
The game and
right.
That's when and there are a lot of people saying that, oh, man, they should have ridden that train. And once they obviously saw how much difficulty that the Vikings were having stopping Taysom Hill and what he was able to do, I mean, his long 50-yard touchdown pass, we saw that. By the way, that one traveled 54 yards in the air. That was longer than any Drew Brees completion over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah,
so clearly he can do things that Drew Brees cannot
Clearly
do.
Can, yes.
Lining up at tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, running back. Third time he's done that multiple times this year.
Right.
They've all been the last 3 weeks. So Sean Payton has started to use Taysom Hill, and it's over now. We'll see if he's a restricted free agent, so we'll see if he's back next year. Hard to imagine he's not.
No, I mean,
but
he's
developed into an interesting weapon.
He has, and I think he's the future in New Orleans. And, there's a lot of rumors in the NFL world that this is, like, Sean Payton's kind of sick of the spread it out, let's throw the ball for 6 yards every play offense. Like, he kind of wants to get into, like, the Baltimore Ravens and let Taysom Hill be his version of Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of talk from people I trust in the NFL.
So they walk away from Drew Brees.
I mean, I think there's going to be some serious thought here, yes. I do. We'll see where it goes. Maybe Drew goes one more year. They certainly can still win football games with him. But the room for error with the way Drew Brees, the age he is right now, is very slim. And as we've seen really in some of their big losses, when you take away some of the things we just talked about and then you say, okay, Drew, you're going to have to throw it downfield or outside the numbers to beat us. Yeah, he's at an age where he's just not capable of doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Minnesota, that's the game they played. Mm-hmm. Their corners didn't back off. They basically just said, oh, we'll see. Can you throw it over our head? Can you throw a 15-yard comeback all game long and stripe it in there? And the answer to that was no.
So what if they talk to Drew Brees and say, we're going to bring you back.
Yeah.
Here's the plan. It's like a 50-50 timeshare. We're going to get creative with this offense. You're not going to play every snap.
Right.
Taysom Hill, we want to introduce him into this offense more and more.
I know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Would Drew Brees like that? Would he want to deal with that? I can't imagine really Sean Payton liking that either. I would think Sean Payton would want to go with some sort of theme.
He thinks that Taysom Hill can do many of the things that Drew Brees can do now?
I think he probably thinks he's very close, right? Yeah. I mean, is he going to be quite as good a decision maker? Is he going to be as good an accurate thrower with some of the quick decisions and all that? No, of course not. Drew is as good as anybody in the history of the sport to do that. But I do think we've seen through preseason and in the regular season that Taysom Hill has gotten better at all those things to where I think Sean Payton goes, yeah, all right, we might not throw for 75% like we do with Drew Brees, but we'll be scarier and more explosive and probably throw for 67%, right? So it's not like they're like, oh, no, You know, again, you know, it's a balance you got to take. Yeah, the completion percentage might not be great, but I don't know if that matters when you're playing the cream of the crop defenses in football who can take away all those easy completion type plays we talked about. You know, the name of the game is explosive plays. And, you know, for the most part, the quarterbacks who you saw win this past weekend could do what? Make explosive plays. That's what they can do. And that's, other than turnovers, the number one thing that dictates wins and losses.
Can we talk about Kirk Cousins and the Vikings here a little bit?
Yeah,
they did win the game.
Well, I mean, come on, let's talk about it.
So did we see the death of primetime Kirk Cousins? Although it wasn't in prime time. Well, it was during the day.
Well, yes, but I mean, if this doesn't count as prime time, then I don't know what the does. It was like, well, there's only one of 4 games this weekend, and it was a big one, and the ratings, I think, would justify primetime eyes on it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so Kirk Cousins, I think the big thing is, and you talked about this already, they went back and watched that Atlanta game, right? Yeah. The one thing that jumped out to me more than anything, especially the start of the game, the Vikings said, screw the middle of that Saints defense. I'm not running there. Everything, if you go back and watch, it's on the edge. It's off the tackle, off the tackle, off the tackle. Ooh, they over-pursued. Let me cut back. Do something like that. The Saints are slow in their front 7. That's what the Falcons did. That's what the 49ers did. They got the edge of the Saints defense. They said, the hell with running all these 320-pounders. Let's get out there. And that's where their success started, was Dalvin Cook. And then Kirk Cousins came on.
28 carries, 94 yards, couple touchdowns. The big play for for Dalvin Cook. The big play for Kirk Cousins was the 43-yard touchdown, or set up the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime, which I thought was so interesting. And it's just how these little things happen at the end of a game where Lattimore gets hurt, and then Patrick Robinson comes in for one play. Yeah. His first play on the field was Adam Thielen catching that 43-yard pass to set up the winning touchdown. And you've said this before, you're not totally convinced the Vikings have huge playmakers.
Yeah.
It seems like they do. I mean, like,
I get you.
Thielen can make a ton of big plays.
Thielen came back to what we see. Yeah, right.
Cook was healthy. Yeah. And Rudolph, of course, with the touchdown at the end of the game. It's a dangerous offense.
Well, when Thielen is, to me, that was the first time he looked like Adam Thielen since before the hamstring injury. So when he is doing that, yeah, they're not overly, like, crazy schematic-wise, as we know, you've heard me say. But it does give them 3 legit weapons in Diggs, Thielen, and, of course, Cook. And then, if we got the right matchup, we do have an effective tight end in Kyle Rudolph. Like, Kyle Rudolph, to me, he's not one of the best tight ends in football or in that discussion, but he's just solid. He's real good. And then as we see, when he's in a one-on-one situation, he can go up and catch the ball.
Maybe. But does he need the aid of offensive pass interference?
Well, I mean, the one thing we know with the Vikings, it starts with their run game. And when they got their run game going, it made everything in their life easier. Their defense kept them in the game. And then eventually, Kirk Cousins started to hit big throws. You're right. And do you think that was pass interference at the end of the game?
I do think
you do.
It was.
Okay.
I think he pushed off enough. It's always hard to call at the end of the game, right? You want to let him play.
Yeah.
You definitely want to let him play.
Right.
I thought it was a push-off.
Okay. Well, I think it was a push-off too, but I don't think it was pass interference.
Okay.
You know, my big thing would be this, and let's pull it up and watch it together, okay? So, and let's see if we can get to it. Oops, I'm on the wrong side of the ball. Hold on.
There was definitely some hand fighting either way. There was some jockeying for position.
Well, that's where
all the time.
That's where I'm going to argue. I'm going to argue to you that, well, okay, yeah, was it push off by Kyle Rudolph? Absolutely, I know that. But
at a crucial point in the play.
But
right before the ball gets.
Yeah, well, but also, so what do people want the offensive player to do when the defensive player has both his hands on the guy's arm? Just to sit there and go like an alligator and go, oh, look, I got pass interfered with. Just throw it. Look, my arms are stuck down here.
Slap the arms away.
Well,
he definitely gave a shove.
He gave
a
shove.
Shoulder.
There's no doubt. But my argument to this would be that the contact was initiated by P.J. Williams. So once that happens, all bets are off. They're not going to reverse a non-call and call it that.
No.
When one guy started the contact issue.
And I don't think they should have. I don't think that they should have reviewed down and called that pass. I don't think it was egregious, but I do think it was pass interference.
You do think it was pass interference.
But I get where you can say that's hand fighting by a defensive back who initiated the contact. And it was kind of like we were talking about last week and every week. You know, if there's contact initiated by the defensive guy first, then
there's
it's on.
More leeway. It's on. That's exactly right. That's the way to put it. It's on. And again, it wasn't like egregious or anything like that, but you know, if I'm guarding you and my hands are like right here on you like this, I mean, what? Yeah, and they're gloves that grip already, so I don't need to be like, oh, you can't move.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to do something to create a little separation.
Andrew Kyle Rudolph coming off a week where Chris Simms said you weren't that great of a tight end, and so you're like, I want to prove myself here.
And I just said it again. So there you go.
I want to do it. All right, so that's anything else in this game? I'm trying to think.
No, I think we hit it.
Drew Brees has played his last game in New Orleans.
I want to say yes. I think this was it for Drew Brees. I do. I don't feel confident in that. I just say if, 50-50, I lean a little bit more yes.
Yeah.
Than no.
And there are options out there, and there are options on it. We didn't even talk about Teddy Bridgewater.
No, that's what I mean. They have two options on their own football team.
Right.
So, yeah, they have direction here. And to me, again, the difference between Drew Brees and Tom Brady is, yes, neither one is capable of carrying the team anymore. That's not going to happen. But Brady has less deficiencies than Brees. Brady can still throw the ball all over the field. Brady still has a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Brees, you have to be a little limited in what you can call and design in a game plan because he's just not going to be able to make some of those throws.
All right, so that is Vikings. They're moving on. They get the win in New Orleans.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.